"55 minutes after 7, you're still watching the AM show on Joy News on Multi-TV. It's time to talk education. Now, education is one of the major bedrocks of every society if you want to move forward and if you want to develop. Now, the education sector in Ghana has faced and is facing a lot of challenges. Talk about absenteeism, talk about non-payment of teachers' salaries and allowances, and now the call that the education service management should be decentralized. But let's talk about absenteeism now, and I have on the line former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Michael Insoa. Hello, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. Thanks for your time. And hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thanks for your time. Now let's talk about absenteeism first in education. What really is the problem, or what aren't we doing right in dealing with the issue of absenteeism by teachers?
Yes, thank you very much, madam. See, we're talking about the managers. The first line manager is the head teacher. Now, if head teachers do not report the conduct of the, because they themselves don't have the power to sanction them, they have to report them to the district education office. So if they don't report and connive sometimes when people are not in school, they don't inform the district education office for days. People continue to be absent, which affects the work in the school. Then you have to. So the first place where you have to lay the blame at the school level, where the manager is the head teacher. And then you move to the second level, that's the district education office. Do we have evidence that the head teachers have been sending records of people who continuously absent themselves? Because there are rules. If a teacher is absent for 1 to 10 days, 1 to 10 working days, now such records, when sent to the district education office, means that such teachers will lose their they will lose the 10 days in their monthly salary. But so you need all these records before action can be taken. So if they don't send the record, then there's a problem. But people will give all sorts of excuses for being absent. Of course, if you go to hospital and you are declared unfit or you are asked to rest for, you are normally given a kit. And such things must be a very important record which can actually absorb in case action is being taken against you. But if you don't have all these records and people are left on their own, then of course we'll continue to have this problem.
All right. So, are you for the call for the education system to be decentralized? Do you believe that that could help in solving this issue?
It is important because where a disciplinary action is taken against a personnel of the Ghana Education Service, and you have to go through the disciplinary committee, regional disciplinary committee, national disciplinary committee. I mean, by the time the case is actually determined, everybody would have lost interest in the case. But if we have decentralized, all power is given to the people at the district level, so that action is taken immediately, something happens. I think we'll be able to get some of this.
All right, Mr. Insoa, please hold on the line for me, because I've been joined in the studio by one gentleman who is one of the people calling for the decentralization of the education system. Hello, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So, really, what has necessitated this call?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a constitutional issue. The Constitution provides that yes, we need to decentralize most of the public services that we have. And if you look at the whole history, it points to the fact that the concept is about devolution, where power needs to be centered at the district level, so that communities can also have ownership in the running of activities. And we are placing this in context of education decentralization, because There are issues about outcomes, there are issues about quality, there are issues about management. So we clearly also want to see how this can also fit within the broader constitutional framework where education management can also be done at the district level. Because if you look at the new decentralization policy, certain department has been even be merged at the district level where education and sports now becomes one department under the district department. So clearly, we need to also discuss the various issues because there are research that we've carried out that point to the fact that yes, there are some issues that are affecting education outcomes at that level, and if we decentralize, it's going to also curtail some of the things. We cannot say that it's going to resolve all the issues, but it's certainly going to resolve some of them, especially the issue of absenteeism. And if you listen to Mr. Nsoa, who was a former director of GES, clearly the issue of absenteeism is affecting time on task with children, which thereby also leads to the kind of qualities that we produce at that level. Yeah. And this is also partly because of the decision, the bureaucratic system that we have in terms of taking decisions at that level. So once we are able to give power to the district, that means that we are also limiting time, we are also limiting distance, and then we are also want to see a situation where quick action can also be taken with respect to the things that they do.
All right, right. What form of decentralization do you recommend? A total, or you're looking at administrative or financial, or a merge of the two, because there are forms of decentralization. So are you looking for a total decentralized system?
Yeah, well, that is what the Constitution provides, that it should be a devolution. You know, once a devolution, then it means that nothing can be centered at the center. Everything must go down to the district level, where everything will be managed there. Even teacher recruitment will be done by the district assemblies and other things. It's just that when it comes to monitoring another development of curriculum and then also certification of teachers, that will be done by another body, you know, so that all this will be done. So if you look at the constitutional provision, then it means that we have to give absolute power to the district in terms of how they manage affairs, you know, so that the central government can also have an oversight responsibility in terms of the things that they do. But when it comes to decision making, they have to do it at that level.
All right. Bright, hold on a bit, because I want to go back to Mr. Nsoa. So you have had first-hand experience in Ghana's education system. How long do you think it would take us, Mr. Nsoa, if we have to decentralize our education system?
Well, it's taking too long to decentralize, because as far back as 1988, we mooted the idea of government decentralizing, operations at the district level.
But if we take that decision now, based on all we see in the education system now and how far we've come, how long do you think it will take us, or it should take us?
It shouldn't take us any longer. It should not take us more than 1 year to center, because like I heard, is it Bright?
Bright up here, yes.
Yeah, Bright up here. Now, decentralization is clearly stated in the government white paper of 2004, and it says that it will mean that finance, administration, and other things, but issues of curriculum assessment will still be done from the national level, because we need to see that we have the same, every child is receiving the same curriculum. So that is something that can. So if these are the things that we need to do, I mean, already financial administration is already there, because money meant for the district go to their district accounts, except that it's the issue of who controls that funds. Now it goes direct to the GES at the district level. So if we decentralize and we say, okay, your supervising agent is the district assembly or the district chief executive or whatever, I don't see why it should take more than 1 year to ensure that the structures are in place. I'm sure that, in fact, the structure, as far as education is concerned, the structures are already in place, because every district director of education is a qualified person. Therefore, and the other staff are all, because it's based on certain level of qualification, and all these things have been taken care of in all the district education offices. So I don't see any problem. It's just that the issue that people think that once the district assembly start controlling the funds, education might not receive all the funds, and some of the funds might be used for projects that the district assembly thinks that it's more important or needs urgent attention. So that is what needs to be clarified.
You mentioned earlier that talks about decentralizing our education system, have been going on for a very long time. So why have we stalled the process, or what has caused us to be where we are? Why can't we just do it?
Yeah, it's because, once it has not officially become a policy of the nation, then it becomes difficult. For instance, like Apia referred to, when they were doing the local government act, almost all the departments were placed under the district assemblies. But I think health, education, and other departments were left out. I don't know for what reason, but it was the fear that once they go under this, they might suffer. But because once they are receiving their monies or their funding direct from the central government, then they will be able to operate. But I think this is the fear that once it goes under the district assembly or district chief executive.
So could it mean that these people aren't trusted enough? Could it be that?
That is it. No, one argument in the beginning, the main argument was that many of the district chief executives were not qualified to be able to manage those things because they are political appointments, and if you have somebody who has no knowledge about management and administration in charge of funds, and that was the fear. That's why I hope it has been taken care of, because if anybody at all is appointed to executive and mismanages then education, health, and all those departments are going to suffer.
All right, Mr. Ansua, please hold on a bit and let me invite Bright into the conversation. Bright, you work with Child's Rights International, and I just want to find out, because the issue of decentralizing education has been, tried and tested in other parts of the world. Places like Brazil, Chile, not doing too well, even though they've implemented it. As someone who is on the ground, someone who deals with issues of education, do you have any roadmap, a tailor-made form of decentralization per our situation in Ghana? What do you make of that? Is that the way to go?
Yeah, well, if you look at the Constitution, it provides that Parliament, by law, can take action in respect to the roadmap, what exactly we'd want to do. So currently, I know the Ministry of Education has developed the Education Decentralization Bill, and they want to table it before Parliament, so that now education can fully be with the District Assembly. So that is the where we are now. Per their strategic plan, they wanted to do it last year, but still, we're still in the process of ensuring that that bill goes through, so that it becomes an act of Parliament. And once that is done, then we can also enforce the law to ensure that at least the district assemblies will have the responsibility of managing our education. But there are other issues that we'd have to look at in terms of the roadmap. That is the kind of consultation that we've had in respect to the bill. And then also, once the bill is passed, what is going to be the roadmap for the implementation of the bill itself? Because these are matters that we cannot just take for granted, because way back in 1957, there are still issues in terms of the fear, entertaining fear. And even if you look at the Anamwa Committee's report, also make recommendation that decentralization should be the way to go.
So you think we should take the risk, even though there's the fear that people at the district level may not be able to manage properly?
Yeah, yes, of course. But what the decentralization policy is seeking to do now is that when it comes to the appointment of DCEs, they are proposing that the person, the minimum qualification of the person should be a degree holder, to be able to accommodate the issue of whether or not the DCE can be in a position to manage education at that level. Because if you look at the current directors of education, some of them are doctors, some of them also they hold masters in the various fields and all that. So for you to fix them under somebody who is not well educated in terms of the qualification, then that becomes a problem. So the decision in the policy now is that for you to become a DCE, whether you be appointed or elected or nominated, you need to have a qualification. At least the minimum should be degree, because the assumption is that now education is going to be managed by the district assemblies. These are issues that are still on the table for discussion, and I think that we should still open the discussion up for people to also bring in their expert view in relation to even the appointment of the DCE. And the other issue that we need to put within the roadmap is the merger between sports and education, and at the end of the day, who is going to be the director? Because the current proposal is that if you are a director of sports at the district level, and you're also a director of education, any of you can become the head of that department under the district assembly. So the issue of whether or not the person who's going to manage it would have interest in education or sport is also another issue that we have to discuss. So for us, the passage of the bill is not the end of it. I think that's just part of the process. But in doing that, we'd also need to put out certain programs to eliminate the fears that we entertain, in the process, so that at the end of the day, we can have a very comprehensive system. All
right, okay. Talking about the fears, let me just bring Mr. Nsoa in this. Mr. Nsoa, what do you suggest? A lot of people find it difficult really grappling all the details of decentralization and all that. But what do you think should be the way in checking some of these district heads and making sure that they're doing the right things in wrapping up?
You see, like Bright said, if the people in these departments, Ministry of Health or Ghana Health Service and Ghana Teaching Service, are more qualified than the people in the district assembly who are supposed to be in charge, then there will be a problem. And that is something that the Ministry of Education has no control over. The Ministry of Education does not appoint a district chief executive or district finance officer or district planning officer. We must ensure that all these people are properly qualified, able to manage affairs, not only funds, everything in the district, so that we don't have a situation where, because the education director is more qualified than the planning officer, but the planning officer is trying to dictate things that are not going to work for the education in the district, then we'll continue to have problems. So I think the onus lies. I haven't seen that law, or the act that they are going to pass that they are presenting to Parliament. We must ensure that everybody or the personnel in the district assembly are qualified to manage things. It's all about management, and therefore it is important that so that we don't have these suspicions about people who are going to handle all these matters.
Thank you very much, Michael Nsoa, as former Director General of the GES, and we've been talking about the call to decentralize education. We're back in the studio, Bright at PIC, and he's with Child's Right International. So in wrapping up, Bright, like I asked Mr. Nsoa, what do you suggest in managing people at the district levels? Because, like you said, you don't mind us taking the risk despite the fears. So what's the suggestion in managing these people who supervises these people at the district level, so we don't have cases of corruption and mismanagement and all that?
And I think that the mindset of people, we need to begin to work on that once we want to decentralize, because at that level, certainly there are going to be an issue of who is more qualified than the other. And if you look at the history that we have, most of the directors of education are more qualified than some of the DCEs. So we need to come to that conclusion. And I'm happy that they have included in the bill, the local government bill, that for you to become a DCE, the minimum qualification should be a degree. You should be a degree holder. So I think that in moving forward, we can also address some of the issues. Once a DCE is a degree holder or a professor or a doctor, then that would also compel the system to also recruit certain people who are qualified to manage certain administrative issues and all that. So once we start a process you know, I think that some of these things will fall in place. But for us, so far as we are concerned, and the research that we've done, it points to the fact that if we do not decentralize education, we will still have the difficulties that we are facing now. And it will take us a lot of money to be able to resolve them. But once we are able to decentralize, I think that we'll be able to deal with some of these issues. So we need to start the process, and I'm sure when we get to a certain level, we can also discuss the various issues and find solutions to them.
All right, thank you so much, Bright. Bright appears with Child's Right International, and together with Mr. Michael Inso, who is a former Director General of the GS, we've been talking about decentralizing education and whether it is really the way to go, all the basic details of it, and how Ghana should adopt this system, which really has been adopted by many countries in the part of the world. You're watching the AM show with me, Benis Abelu. Kwabna Chenchehinen is standing by with AM Talk. Please don't go away.